The diner was quieter than usual that evening. The kind of quiet that hums with unease, where even the sound of a glass being set down echoes like thunder. Outside, the rain drizzled softly against the windows, turning the world grey and dim. Inside, the smell of coffee and fried bacon filled the air as the young waitress, Emily, wiped down the counter with the same care she gave every customer. She had worked there for 2 years now, a simple girl with tired eyes but a heart that refused to harden. Every smile she gave was genuine, though life hadn't given her much reason to smile lately. Her shift was almost over when the door swung open with a sharp clang of the bell. A tall, heavily tattooed man walked in, his boots stomping on the floor like thunder. His eyes scanned the room, wild and arrogant. Emily's heart skipped. She'd seen men like him before, loud, drunk, entitled. She whispered a quiet prayer and forced a polite smile. He took a seat at the bar, ordering a beer in a voice rough as gravel. The way he looked at her made her skin crawl, but she did her best to keep her composure. She'd learned long ago that standing your ground could sometimes make things worse. If you believe in kindness, courage, and second chances, please take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to believe in good people again. It really helps us bring you stories that inspire and heal hearts like yours. As the minutes passed, the man grew louder, slamming his glass on the counter and calling for another. When Emily politely told him she couldn't serve him more, his face twisted with anger. "You think you can tell me what to do?" he growled. The few other customers looked away, pretending not to notice. Then it happened, in one horrifying instant that would forever be burned into her memory. The man reached across the counter, grabbed her shirt, and ripped it open slightly, sneering, "Let's see who can save you now." The diner went dead silent. Emily froze, her heart thundering in her chest, tears welling up as humiliation burned her cheeks. She was trembling, powerless, terrified. But then, something shifted in the air. From the corner booth, a deep voice broke the silence. "Put your hands off her!" The tattooed man turned, sneering, and then his face drained of color. Sitting there were the Hell's Angels, men with leather vests, arms covered in ink, eyes that had seen too much of life to tolerate injustice. Their leader, Rick Bear Lawson, slowly stood up, the room's tension coiling around him like a storm. Rick wasn't just a biker. He was a man with a past, one filled with mistakes he'd spent years trying to make right. He knew what it meant to lose control, to hurt people you never meant to. That's why, when he saw Emily's trembling figure, he felt a fire ignite in his chest, not of anger alone, but of purpose. The man stammered, trying to laugh it off. "Hey, it was just a joke." Rick stepped closer, his boots heavy on the wooden floor. "You think terrorizing a girl is funny?" he said, his voice low, dangerous. "You picked the wrong place, brother." Within seconds, the room changed. Every member of the Hell's Angels stood, their presence alone enough to make the air thick with fear. The man stumbled back, mumbling, "I didn't mean—" But before he could finish, Rick took a step forward and growled, "Apologize to her." The man's hands shook. He turned toward Emily, eyes wide, and muttered a broken apology before bolting out the door, his pride shattered, his cruelty exposed. Silence hung heavy for a moment, until Rick gently took off his leather vest and placed it over Emily's shoulders. "You're safe now," he said quietly. Tears rolled down her cheeks, not just from fear but from something deeper, the shock of being protected when she had expected no one to care. For the first time in a long while, someone stood up for her, not because they had to, but because it was right. That night changed everything. After closing, Emily sat alone at the counter, still trembling. Rick walked back in with 2 cups of coffee. He didn't say much, just slid one toward her. The warmth of the mug steadied her hands. "You don't have to be scared anymore," he finally said. "The world's full of bad men, but not everyone's like him." Emily looked up at him, her voice shaking. "Why did you help me?" Rick's eyes softened. "Because I used to be him. Not that cruel, but angry, lost. Someone once helped me find my way back. Now it's my turn." From that night on, Rick and the other Hells Angels made it a routine to stop by the diner. Not to intimidate anyone, but to quietly make sure Emily was safe. They sat in their corner drinking coffee, keeping the peace. Word spread quickly around town. You don't mess with the girl from Jack's diner. At first, Emily found it strange, bikers protecting a waitress. But soon she saw who they really were, men who had seen too much darkness and had decided to become light for others. Rick became something of an older brother to her, teaching her to defend herself, to speak up, to never shrink again. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Emily confessed her dream. She wanted to go to college, maybe become a counselor for women who'd been through trauma. Rick listened silently, then nodded. "Do it," he said. "You've already survived worse. You can help others find their strength too." But the road wasn't easy. Emily didn't have money, and her confidence was fragile. Some people still whispered about her behind her back, about the biker waitress who had caused trouble. Yet, every time she doubted herself, Rick's words echoed, "You're stronger than what tried to break you." Months passed. Emily started saving every tip she earned, taking night classes online, refusing to let fear define her. She began to smile again, a real smile this time, one that reached her eyes. One rainy night, nearly a year later, she walked back into the diner, this time wearing her college sweatshirt. Rick and the boys were there, as always. When they saw her, the room erupted in cheers. She'd done it. She'd been accepted into the counseling program she'd dreamed of. Rick stood, grinning through his rough beard. "We're proud of you, kid." Emily laughed through tears. "I wouldn't have made it without you all." Rick shook his head. "You made it because you didn't give up. We just reminded you of who you were." The bond they shared became something beautiful, unlikely friends bound by kindness, redemption, and respect. Emily's life became a testament to what happens when good people stand up, when compassion wins over cruelty. Years later, she would look back on that night, not with fear, but with gratitude. Because that was the night she realized that heroes don't always wear uniforms or capes. Sometimes they wear leather jackets and carry the weight of their past, yet choose to protect instead of harm. Rick passed away some years later in a motorcycle accident, but his legacy lived on. On the day of his funeral, hundreds of bikes rolled through the town, engines roaring like thunder, a salute to a man who had once been lost and found redemption through kindness. Emily stood at the roadside, holding a small bouquet of white flowers. Tears streamed down her face, but her heart was full. She had become the counselor she dreamed of, helping others rise from their pain, just as Rick had helped her. She whispered to the wind, "You saved me that day, Rick, and I'll spend the rest of my life saving others." As the bikes faded into the distance, Emily turned toward the diner, now hers. She had bought it 2 years ago, renaming it Bear's Diner, after the man who gave her courage when she had none left. Every day she served customers with a smile, her wrists carrying a small tattoo, strength through kindness. Because in a world where cruelty often goes unchecked, she had learned one simple truth. When someone stands up for what's right, even in the smallest corner of the world, they light a fire that never goes out. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Comment below with a if you believe that kindness and courage can still change lives. Special request, before you go, comment respect and redemption below to honor every person who stood up for someone when it mattered most. And remember, you never know whose life you might save just by being brave enough to care.